aortic calculations. So let's start with aortic stenosis first. What are the calculations that we do for aortic stenosis?
Valve area,
So aortic valve area.
peak velocity and mean velocity.
Okay, so max pressure gradient
Sorry,
and mean pressure gradient, which is going to give us our peak velocity and our mean velocity. Okay, so I'm going to get this EKG set here first. So I'm going to increase this gain. Sense a little tension here, so let's see. A little bit better, not much. All right, so let's, while we're at the parasternal long axis view, you hit zoom right here, and then you can zoom in, make it small, make the box smaller, and go back to zoom. Okay, you could, if you wanted to, freeze and then zoom. Okay, I like zooming while I'm in my image here. All right, we're going to freeze, and then we're going to do an LVOT diameter. So we're going to scroll it back, and then I want to scroll forward. So I never do my measurements going backwards. So I'm going to scroll forward. I'm going to look at those valves. See how it's kind of hard to see those valves? So there I can see the valve a little bit better. See how there's the valve a little bit better? All right, so I'm going to measure, and this is going to be under dimension, and you're going to go to LVOT diameter. Okay, I'm going to store that. All right, then we would continue to do all of the other measurements that we would need to do, all the other images. When I got down to our apical 5-chamber view, yeah, got it, chilly, chilly. Roll back for me just a little bit, there we go. So we're going to do an LVOT velocity. So you find the valve, go 1 centimeter above that valve, and pulsed wave. Freeze, measure, under aortic, LVOT, trace. So we're going to start here, 0, 0, and trace.
So you no longer want us to do the Vmax?
Nope, no longer do the Vmax, do the trace from now on.
Just like for the pulmonic, right?
Yep, just like you do for the pulmonic.
So no
just
longer
do trace.
the Vmax?
Nope, because it's going to give you the Vmax. So it'll give you the Vmax right here,
Okay.
and it gives you the mean.
Okay.
But it also gives you this VTI, which is this calculus equation that the machine's going to figure out for us, okay? So I'm going to store that. All right, now I'm going to switch into the aorta, or switch to the aorta. So cursor into the aorta, and continuous wave. Freeze, and then same thing, we're going to trace. So trace. There's my valve click, so I can just hit enter and store. So here's my calculations. So I'm getting a 2.7 valve area with VTI, I'm gonna follow this. This is more accurate. I'm getting a 9 mm pressure gradient max and a 5 mean pressure gradient. Okay, so aortic valve area, max pressure gradient, mean pressure gradient. All of that is right there. Okay, if for some reason these don't show up, you have to go into your worksheet. Okay, and just depending on how many calculations you have, you can do the page change with how many calculations that you have done. Okay, say you want to delete a calculation, then you would come up here, update menu, and you would delete that value. If it was a set like an EF, you would delete the set, but you can just do delete value, and that'll do each individual one if you wanted to do that. Okay? All right, now with our Pedof probe. So this is what we call our non-steerable or our non-imaging probe. Turn it to the side there. All right, this can be changed to whatever's comfortable for you. So you can move this up or down. Oops, glove got in there. So you can move this up or down. I like it kind of here in the middle, because that's how I hold the probe, is on this crossbar right here. Okay? All right, so this is like how the sound beam is going. So this is just like a radar that we've got to take this line and we've got to line it up with the aortic. Okay? So what I suggest you guys do is do a good, this is a good cheat that you can do, is when it's on 2D, I hold this right here, and I'll scan with my other hand. Okay, there's where my apical forechamber is. And so I'm gonna put this probe right where my apical forechamber is. And see how this is the flat part of the head? So I need to put that right where my apical forechamber is. And then I'm going to switch this to my Pedof probe. So this is her mitral valve. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So this is her mitral valve, and she has a little bit of mitral regurg. That's mitral regurg. So just according to my anatomy, my aorta is a little bit higher, more anterior. And I go back to my mitral, and then I search for my aorta. That's my mitral. Okay? See how it's getting different? So take a small breath in. Okay, blow your air out. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and breathe. All right, so I'm gonna store that. So what I was doing is like this line is coming out here, and I'm kind of moving it up, out. She's kind of like right, if her mitral valve is down here, her aortic valve is up here. So it's just more anterior. So now I'm going to measure, and I would do the same thing, aortic valve trace. And then what you want to do, you should do before, is annotate. Where's my annotate keyboard? Let's see, more. Text. And I'm going to say, I don't think this has an apex. Maybe it does. I can add it to it, but I'll just go ahead and type apex. Of course, the physician is going to know that this is the apex because it's coming away from the transducer. So I should have, and I can't move that, but it's okay. So then I would store this image because this says apex. And then now what I can do is tell the machine, I'll just go back now to your annotate, and I'll delete all of this. And I will come up here and I will say, I'll just capitalize it, right sternal border. All right, and I'm gonna leave that there. So I keep it on freeze because it's really, really loud. So if I take this off and then see how loud it gets? So I keep it on freeze, okay? All right, so now what I'm gonna have you do, and I'm gonna have you do this very cautiously because I'm gonna try to leave this out, but I'm gonna have you roll on your right side, okay? So roll that way. But I'm standing right here, so you're not gonna slip off the bed this way, so don't slip off the bed that way. So roll all the way to your right side. Good. Good. Okay. All right, so she's rolled up on her right side. See how I'll kind of use this little cutout to get a little bit closer to him? That's one of my tidbits, but if you don't have a cutout, of course you can't. And then you're gonna take this Doppler and point it towards the aortic valve. So roll back for me just a little bit. I'm gonna put that in the second right intercostal space. All right, and then I'm gonna have you roll over again. Good. Hold your breath, hold your breath, hold your breath, and breathe. Good. All right, lie flat on your back, and you can see what we got here. So here's your right sternal border. So I would measure aortic valve trace, and here's your right sternal border. Okay, take a picture of that. All right, now we're gonna do suprasternal notch. So I'm going to text suprasternal notch. I need to enter, sorry. There we go. I'm gonna put this here first before I take it off freeze. I'm going to aim it towards my ascending aorta, so putting it in my suprasternal notch, real gentle here. See how I'm going above the baseline, and it's really light here, so it's mainly above the baseline here. I can turn it and see how now this is bright. And I'll know where I have it too. Now I'm aiming towards my descending aorta. So I was like this now. This is my ascending and this is my descending. So I'm going to come back. Again, I like to put it off freeze here. I'm aiming towards the ascending aorta right here.